you got a virus because it's going to download something from their website, and it's going to then block it from doing that. So if you come up with that, you're going to need to either don't use that checkbox or talk to somebody about turning off your firewall so that EnergyPro has access to the Internet.
And will checking normalized billing data affect the energy usage calculations that are appearing at the bottom of the screen?
No, it will not affect the energy usage calculations, because what we want to do with the energy usage calculations is, even though you've told me that you have an abnormal year and you have an abnormal set of bills, we still want to use a reference year for the calculation of the energy savings. So that would be this red line here. So that's based upon a typical year, in this case for San Rafael. We don't want to base your energy savings on an atypical year. So that's merely for your peace of mind to show that your, once you normalize the data, that you've got a reasonably good prediction to the homeowner's energy bills.
Okay. So we have a question about the reports themselves. Of all the reports that are available, are any of those designed or useful for showing to a client, to a homeowner?
Okay, so let me bring up a full example here of a project. Okay, and let's take a look at the various reports we can get here. And what I'll do here is I will go over and that was for doing some CalCerts calculations. I'm going to specify that we want to go ahead and what I'm going to do with this example here is I'm going to run a different set of calculations here. I'm going to run what we call, we talked about running individual alternative energy measures, where EnergyPro looked at the savings from the individual measures. When we check the box to run the combined alternative energy measures, what EnergyPro is going to do is it's going to search through all of the efficiency measures that you have specified, and it is going to find which is the most cost-effective measure. Once it identifies the most cost-effective measure, it will then add that into the home, and then it will search through the remaining list and find the next most cost-effective measure. It will then add that to the list. And so what it will do is it will incrementally add in the different energy efficiency measures until we end up with a complete list of all the energy upgrades and a prediction on the total energy savings. So if you take a look here, and I'm leading up to the report question, so don't think I'm going nowhere with this. So if we take a look at what's just happened here, we took this home and we ran the original as we found it home, which is what we call the proposed. And then we ran, we found that wall insulation was the first most cost-effective upgrade, which I highly doubt in this case, but we'll have to look at our costs, and that's probably because we said the cost was only $2,000. Okay, it's probably a little low. Your costs will define how these things get ordered, by the way. So if you have low costs here, then that item is going to tend to get added into the list first. So moving down the list, we see that windows fell in there, and that brought us to 34% savings. Okay, and then there's a whole bunch of other things. There's the HVAC duct leakage, brought us up to 47% savings, and we even had some exotic stuff in here like solar, domestic, and renewables. Okay, so there's a whole list of recommendations for the homeowner. So now let's go over to the reports section, and we're going to specify that we want a residential performance report, and there's a real nice one here that we want to look at, which is the Econ 2. Now we brought this one out especially for the program that Scott's doing here, so that it would give us a nice little report, and let's look at that. Okay, so sorry, it's on the wrong screen here. Bring it over here. And we look at our energy upgrade recommendations report. And what this does is it comes along and says, okay, the recommended improvement. First improvement recommended is wall insulation, putting R15 wall insulation into the wall. That'll get you an annual savings of $656. We're estimating it's going to cost $1,900 to install. that will get you 19% savings. So keep in mind those percent savings that you see listed in that column all pertain to the Energy Upgrade California program. So obviously you've got target percentages that you want to achieve there in order to get specific incentives back for the homeowner from the utility. So in this case, it went through and it gave me that whole list of upgrades. And then down below here, it tells me some information. The existing home had a $3,600 utility bill a year. The improved home, so we brought the utility bill down to $1,000. Our KWH consumption went from $14,000 to $3,700. And this is information that Scott's got a spreadsheet that he'll be asking you for information on. And you can take this information and put that into the spreadsheet. Now you may look at this list and say, well, Martyn, there's a bunch of things on there that are just out of the question. We're not going to consider doing those. So we can go back to EnergyPro and we can go to the calculations, and for the alternatives, we can say don't do solar domestic because the homeowner doesn't want to see that on their roof, and don't do renewables because they're not willing to drop the money for that. And so take those off the list, and then we tell EnergyPro, recalculate. EnergyPro is now going through the whole list again. It's redoing the calculations. It's evaluating the alternatives. And when it comes back and gives us the upgrade recommendations, we are going to see those two will not appear on the list. One other thing to point out is that when you do this approach, notice that on the list of recommendations down here, do you notice that appliances did not show up? Now, even though I told it to run appliances, EnergyPro determined that the $800 cost to upgrade the appliances was not a cost-effective payback, and so therefore it did not put that onto the list. Now, if you really want to force it onto the list, you would have to take and you'd have to reduce the cost of this measure, and then EnergyPro would say, okay, that's cost-effective for them to do now, and it would appear on the list. So now how we calculate cost-effectiveness is based upon the energy savings from the measure, and also based upon the financial information that you give me over here on the homeowner's loan. And that's because we're assuming that all of these expensive upgrades are going to add additional burden onto the homeowner's loan, and we're going to look and see if that will pay back based upon their interest rate, their tax bracket, and how long their loan is. So you want to specify that in order to get this information down here. You may have a homeowner that does not have a loan, in which case that's fine. You can simply set the interest rate to 0 if you want. You can set the number of years to 0. Either one will tell if you don't have a loan. The minute you set the interest rate to 0, that will do it. Okay. Next question.
We had a couple of questions about generating the reports. That Econ2 report that you've developed, is that available under Res Performance only or other modules as well?
Okay, the Econ2 report, let's see where that's available. That's the energy upgrade recommendations. We have a similar report that's available for the Cheers raters, and that's called the Recommended Improvements Report, okay? And that's for the Cheers raters that when they're doing the home ratings, and that will include on there also the home energy rating score, the HERS2 score. So that's a similar type of report, but the difference being that when you're doing that, you're doing a home energy rating. Okay, under the residential green point rating, we do have the Econ2 report available for folks that have that calculation. So if you're doing green point rating on a home where you're upgrading the home and it's going through Build It Green, then yes, you can do the energy recommendations there. And then for those of you doing Title 24-based calculations, which normally would be done on a new home but might be done on an existing home, we do have available the Energy Improvement Upgrades recommendation there as well. So it is available in almost all of the calculations. Well, it is available in all the calculations. It's just a slightly different flavor of that report when you get to the home ratings, because that now includes a HERS index on there. Okay, next question.
And to get a HERS 2 rating, they need to be using either this Cheers module, working through Cheers, or working through CalCerts. CalRate Pro, is that correct?
Yes. If you want to do a home rating, okay, first off, there are 3 example files for you to look at. Okay. The 3 example files would be Cheers example, if you're a Cheers rater, CBPC.A example, if you're a CBPC.A rater, or the, where'd it go? These in alphabetical, the CalCerts example, if you're a CalCerts rater. Okay, so looking at the Cheers example, okay, if we open this example, we will see that this example gives us very similar information to what we gleaned using the residential performance, except with the one addition that it adds here, the HERS index. And so now we're doing a home rating, and we're comparing that to the California Energy Commission reference home, which you can see here, the reference home as a score of 100. And then we basically rate our home, which has a score of 229, and then we proceed to make improvements, and we bring our score down to 79. So you would need to use one of those 3 calculations that we have available, which would be residential Cheers, residential CalCerts, or CBPC.A, depending on which type of rater you are. The results that you get from those 3 different calculations will be identical. The only difference being that each one has different ways that they report the results to the homeowner. Okay. Next question.
And might these, if someone hasn't updated to the latest version of EnergyPro, would these reports look different if they're still operating on some older version?
Yes, please, everybody that's using older versions of EnergyPro, please go to our website, and let me get you there. Okay, and let's see. So please go to EnergySoft.com, go to Downloads, and download and install the latest version of EnergyPro. Okay? Once you install it, then do help and check for updates and make sure that you stay updated. In fact, a better thing to do is to go to Tools, Configure Updates, and tell EnergyPro to update itself on a weekly basis. And then you'll never have to worry about it ever again. EnergyPro will automatically pop up anytime you run it, and it will say, hey, there is an update for EnergyPro. In fact, Windows will take over for you, and just like when Microsoft pops up and says, hey, there's an automatic update available for Windows, you'll get the same thing for EnergyPro. It'll say, hey, there's an automatic update available for EnergyPro. Do you want to update it? So everybody's listening on the phone, please do that. And that way you never have to worry.
All right. Let's see. Now, what is the order of the, on the screen we're looking at, what is the order the system chooses for showing each of these improvements?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yep. So if we're doing the combined alternative energy measures, there's a certain level of logic that is applied here in making the upgrades to the home. Okay. So the first level of logic that is applied here is it has to be cost effective. If it's not cost effective, we're not going to put it on the list of recommendations. Okay. You drive the cost effectiveness, not me. The way you drive the cost effectiveness is with your measure costs. So I told you the example of the appliances. $800 just didn't justify putting a new refrigerator in this home with the amount of energy savings we were going to get. Okay? So you'll have to evaluate your cost. Then the second thing, logic that is applied to the way the measures are put in, is we always do measures that reduce the load first before we do measures that replace equipment. So you'll notice that one of the first measures identified here is to reduce the load on the building